points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss the Winnipeg Jets winning streak coming to an end on home ice, dropping a 5-2 decision to the Washington Capitals, a game in which the Capitals led 4-0. The Jets gave their hometown fans something to cheer about and something to maybe get some hope regarding with a couple goals early third period, but it was all for naught. Can't get any closer than that, and an empty netter makes it 5-2 the final tonight. The Washington Capitals defeating the Winnipeg Jets. I say good evening to my comrade in arms, Dave Manouk. Nice to see you, good sir. The Jets, again, just to me, the tank ran out. It went into empty in that second period. They tried to fill it up quickly for the third, but not quite enough. But to me, that was a team that just finally ran out of gas. Look, the better team won tonight. The Capitals were better than the Jets, but to me, it looked like they finally, all the games, the 3 and 4 nights, the travel, everything else sort of caught up to them in that second period, in my estimation, Dave M.
Well, Kenny was water bottle saying that when the Jets, when Ezzy doesn't show up, neither do the Jets. So that is, I believe, is that 2 games now in a row where Ezzy has not been? Because Ezzy wasn't in the Columbus game either. Was he?
He wasn't in the Columbus game.
Yeah,
that I can remember.
Ezzy might be
the secret.
Ezzy might be the secret of what ails the Jets when he's absent. So
well, I was also going to say, you'll be able to correct me more than my feeble brain, Dave M.
Sure.
But in terms of losses on home ice for the Jets, I believe the last 3 have all come on the weekend. At home. I'm only talking about at home. Yeah, the last 3 have all come on the weekend and all come to Eastern Conference teams. It was that Pittsburgh game on that Saturday night a few weeks ago on November the 19th where they lost 3-0. Then there was the Columbus game on the Friday night, about 2 Fridays ago on December 2nd, where they lost 4-1. And now tonight, the 5-2 loss to the Washington Capitals. So the lesson is clearly that the Jets shouldn't play Eastern Conference teams at home on the weekend anymore, because that seems to be the recipe for a defeat. That's science, folks. That's just science right there.
That does seem to be, there seems to be something there. Just to give Flying Dukes a heads up, it is not the secret code word he's guessing or she's guessing that it's empty tank. It is not empty tank, although that would have been a good one. We went deep into Washington territory on this one, so that's your clue for tonight. But that secret code word won't become, or unique code word won't be coming your way for a little bit longer. We've got a lot of hockey to talk about. So yeah, a bit of a interesting hockey game, because it was almost like each period could be broken up into halves. And we saw the Capitals go on a run. They outshot the Jets 8-1 to start the first period. Then the Jets came back and outshot them 10-1 or 9-1. Sorry, the Jets had 9 straight shots to take it 10. And then the Capitals ended the period with 1 shot. So it was a 10-9 advantage for Winnipeg in the first period. But, obviously it was all Capitals. And then the second period, we saw something very similar where the Capitals took the first 10 of 11 shots. So had a 10-1 edge over the Winnipeg Jets in the first 10 minutes of the second period. So kind of an unusual back and forth. And then the Jets obviously regained a little bit of form. But obviously the Capitals were able to roll in that second period. And then Winnipeg flipped the script a little bit in the third, which is, if you were going to try and get back into the game, that's what they needed to do. But it was too little too late for the Winnipeg Jets. And they weren't able, obviously, to come out with the victory. And look, the Jets still had won 4 games in a row coming into tonight's game. Yeah. And, still sit among the league leaders in the Western Conference. So no doubt it was going to be a tough matchup. And the Capitals were, Lars Eller was playing in his 900th game. So that was kind of a big milestone for the Danish forward. And then, you had Alex Ovechkin, obviously, on his quest for to catch Gordie Howe. Obviously wasn't going to do it tonight, but still it was an interesting hockey game. And, these are the 2 teams. The Southeast Division seems like a long time ago when we were talking about the South Least and, the Capitals, I saw some tweets or comments in the chat talking about how, the Capitals did it again to the Winnipeg Jets. And because of course folks will remember, was that 2012, Drew, where the Capitals on that the very rare home back-to-back where they crushed.
It was the 2012-2013 season.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you how I know that. Yeah, because I was in Colombia. I was in Cartagena, Colombia on my honeymoon for those two games, where had the Jets won both those games on home ice, they would have been closer to a playoff spot. And then they got absolutely lambasted by the Caps in those two. I think it was something like 11-1 was the cumulative score over those two games.
That wasn't game like 7. It was almost
7-0 or 7-1 or something, and then the next one was
4-1 or something.
Yeah, exactly right.
Too much Pavlictricity, I think, in that back then. But anyway, the point is that folks were joking that the Capitals always kind of give it to the Jets, and the Jets will have an opportunity to see the Capitals before 2022 is over, so they can serve them some revenge back in Washington. But it was just
10 days time or so. Yeah, on that day.
Exactly.
Of course, Thursday or the Friday.
Still have to focus on the Vegas Golden Knights and of course the Nashville Predators this week here in Winnipeg. But
well, look, and to that point about the games that are upcoming this week. So you got 4 games, upcoming between now and next Sunday, or including next Sunday. You got the 2 on home ice against Vegas and Nashville Tuesday, Thursday. Then you go out west to face Vancouver Saturday and Seattle Sunday. If you're gonna lay a stinker, if you're gonna lay an egg, and the Jets aren't gonna win every game for the rest of the season. I know people want that, but that wasn't realistically going to happen. If you want there to be a stinker in the bunch, this is the game to have it. This is the one that hurts you the least. It's against an Eastern Conference opponent. They getting 2 points and you not getting 2 points isn't one of those proverbial 4-point game. Doesn't impact you in the playoff standings too much. And again, so obviously the Jets aren't going to be happy with their performance tonight, especially in that second period. It's a bad 20 minutes that really sinks them for the majority of the game, because they were bad sort of for the first 10, as you referenced, Dave, where Washington was taking it to the Jets. Then the Jets found the gear late in that first period, or the back half of that first period, to really sort of get their game underneath them. But then that entire second period, you're going to, basically sum up the game to that 20 minutes, because that's the difference in the game. That, when you're down 4-0, you're just not going to likely come back, especially against a decent Washington team. I know they're not in a great spot in the standings, but they're not a team that's going to largely give up 5 goals in a period. There's very few teams in the NHL that are going to give up 5 goals in a period when they have a 4-0 lead. The Jets weren't going to stage that comeback tonight. They made it a little bit more interesting, as we talked about. But if you're going to lay an egg, and then you need something to sort of refocus yourself, you want it to be tonight so that you can be focused for the Tuesday and the Thursday games against a Vegas team that is, tops in the Western Conference points-wise and percentage-wise after today's Jets defeat. And then Thursday against the division rival in the Nashville Predators, a team that is, playing some better hockey as of late, although they've lost 2 in a row, but they're way behind you in the standings, and you want to keep them below you in the standings. So in that sense, if you're gonna struggle in one of the the 3 games on this homestand, it would certainly be this game that you would choose, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that for years. I mean, obviously, whenever you have a chance you don't want to lose games, but as you said, Drew, it's unrealistic to expect to. I don't know why We Trust is blaming me now. I thought we were blaming you because you called the Jets elite yesterday. We had a little chit chat in the pregame chat. I should say chit chat in the chat with the folks in the chat, and folks were saying that this could be your fault because you called the Jets elite, which true for the record, which was you just giving the people what they wanted. And now, of course, the fans are fickle, Drew, so they've turned on you. Now this is your fault, I believe, unless Ian Bones is somehow turning this around on me. But look, ultimately, you don't want to lose to a Nashville or a Vegas, teams that you're competing with, obviously, here in the Western Conference. And so, yeah, I mean, no losses are you're not saying, well, a loss is acceptable, but if you're going to have to lose, a Capitals team that doesn't mean anything to you is ideal. So it's unfortunate because it was a good crowd on hand. I don't know what the final numbers ended up being in the arena, but I have to say that it was a good energy in the building to start. There were a number of folks in Capitals gear. I wasn't sure if that was because Dylan McElrath got recalled to Washington, although he got sent back to Hershey. I think he got called back up. He got called either yesterday or this morning, but they already sent him back to Hershey. So the Winnipegger didn't even get a chance to be in the press box for tonight's game because he was sent back to the AHL. But regardless, it was a good crowd on hand, and it seemed like there was a good energy in the building. But ultimately, like I said, the first period a little unusual, and then the second, which they talked about on the broadcast in the third period, has been a good period for the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets have been a fairly good second period team this season, but that doesn't always happen. And there were some unusual situations in that period. I mean, I don't know how many times we see shorthanded penalty shots given up on a double minor where the Jets could have actually been building some momentum. And of course, a 2-0 game. And ultimately, if your power play scores a 2-1 game, suddenly becomes a 3-0 game. And now you're really chasing. So just unusual. But like I said, that's this is what happens when you have an 82 game schedule.
Yeah, there's going to be some that are just not your night, your off night. And I mean, I see some comments that, Washington's not as good as I'm giving them credit for. I think ultimately, come playoff time, they will be in there in the Eastern Conference. But they made the Jets play their game tonight, which is sort of what you want to do on the road. The Washington was not going to, let the Jets dictate the pace of play. They were not going to let the Jets dictate the style of game. They wanted to play a very ugly game, really, without not letting the Jets get any speed through the neutral zone. And you saw it on the broadcast there for a while. They showed how the Caps put 4 guys back almost behind the red line when the Jets were coming with the puck. They were saying, you're going to have to skate through or dump and chase throughout our team in order to try and get the puck in deep. They were not going to let the Jets hit the Caps blue line with any speed. And I understand that as a good strategy, and they did a pretty good job at it, and the Jets weren't able to beat that for the majority of the game. The Jets were forced to play into Washington's hands, and Washington would say thank you very much. And then on top of everything else, I mean, like you said, Dave, you don't count on any shorthanded penalty shots, but then when you get that opportunity, you capitalize on it. Pardon the pun. So it works out very well for the team from Washington that everything, they played a good style of game. They had a good approach to neutralizing the Jets. And then on top of it, they were also fortuitous, fortuitous in the sense that you still have to earn the penalty shot and then you take advantage of it. So why don't we get into it, Dave? The Betway game recap, as we do each and every game here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's brought to you by our friends at Betway, the official sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Betway is one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. We talked about that first period, and it was a pretty even first period. The Caps controlled the first 10, the Jets controlled the bottom 10, and you said, okay, 20 minutes, no damage done. There were some good saves by Connor Hellebuyck, especially early in that game. The numbers aren't going to look good for Hellebuyck tonight, giving up 4 and the empty netter to make it 5. Of course, that won't count against him, but there were a number of Connor Hellebuyck-esque saves, especially in that first period, Dave, when the Jets were trying to find their game and sort of get their skating legs behind him. He's the one who made sure that it was 0-0 after 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen so many times throughout the course of his career in Winnipeg, I mean, he's always been a difference maker. And so the reality for the Jets and for Connor Hellebuyck is he keeps them in games. And when they're not, as Rick Bowness likes to say, or probably doesn't like to say, but will say, when the team doesn't start on time and when the team is back on their heels, well, they've got an equalizer. They've got a guy who's in net, who's going to make, the save more often than not. And that's exactly what Connor Hellebuyck did in that first period. And there were a couple of saves that you're like, okay, those are Connor Hellebuyck type saves and a little bit of robbery from number 37. So, I mean, it was a tough opening 10 minutes as we've discussed, Drew. And so if you're the Jets, you're sitting there going, well, and you're expecting them to have some sort of pushback because remember, you're still feeling good about your game, regardless of, we're tired. Look, you didn't practice yesterday. You had an optional skate, which most guys didn't take the optional today. Remember that? No, I shouldn't say most guys, but there were like a handful of guys who didn't take the option to skate today. So remember, what does Rick Bowness say? I don't care if you choose not to skate, but you better be ready to go when the game starts. Well, the team wasn't really ready to go. So we'll see. We don't know what the schedule looks like for tomorrow, but I would imagine they're probably going to have some sort of practice. I would think they should hit the ice at some point tomorrow. Well, we don't know, right? But like I said, when you had the Saturday off, and then you had a game today, and like I said, it was an optional morning skate. You'd think that maybe they'll get them back on the ice because look, there's some.
I'm sure that I think there's probably a practice. We haven't seen the weekly schedule come out.
Yeah,
yet,
it hasn't come out.
I would assume there'll be a practice tomorrow at usually around 12 noon or something like that. Tomorrow, I would expect that there's going to be a practice because you're right. You just want to sort of I can understand today's morning skate being an optional because the morning skates often are an optional. Especially nowadays, this day and age in the NHL, the morning skate. Lots of teams have done away with the morning skates, and I think all the teams have made them at the very least optional. So I don't have a problem with guys taking the option. Tomorrow you'll see the team on the ice for practice. I'd bet a lot on it.
Oh no, for sure. It's not so much, and I guess we should be paying attention because they punted on
the injury update.
On the injury update, so I'd imagine
keeping an eye on it.
So I'm imagining Rick Bowness will give that on. I don't know why they punted. That was very unusual. Scott O'Neill spoke, I understand, because of his connection to Washington, but they didn't give an update other than to say that Saku Menelainen and Logan Stanley have been put on IR, and that the team recalled, I guess we should have talked about before we got into the Betway game recap, but that Kevin Stanley of the Manitoba Moose had been recalled. So who obviously had played. It was interesting, actually. Again, another point I probably should have brought up in, we get it so excited. It's usually a little easier when there's three of us because then I've got Ezzy who can start the chat and I can bring in some points that my observations, if you will. But Kevin Stanley took the skate, which I thought was interesting, the warm-up skate here in Winnipeg. So, he had already played 2 games this weekend, Friday night in Abbotsford, last night in Abbotsford. In theory, if the Jets weren't gonna, be a forward short, he didn't take line rushes. He was the 13th forward and obviously a healthy scratch in the end. But if they were contemplating him being in the lineup, it's interesting that they only recalled the one, obviously on an emergency basis for Kevin Stenlund, but we're waiting to see what the update is going to be on Saku Menelainen.
Well, we know that both Menelainen and Stanley
are out for at least a week.
Yeah, so they're on IR, so that should tell you that it's not a day-to-day situation. They're going to be gone at least for a week.
Yeah,
not LTIR. LTIR is something completely different. But IR means that they're going to be absent for at least a week or so.
Yeah. Retro. I mean, I would imagine,
which is not a surprise. I would think. I mean, you watch both of those injuries. It doesn't strike me as a surprise that you won't see both of those guys. I'd be surprised if you saw either of them. Certainly on the homestand, we know that's probably not going to happen. And who knows about Vancouver and Seattle yet? We'll find out more when presumably when Scott Bowman. Oh, here it is. Courtesy Scott Billick. Saku Menelainen and Logan Stanley will be out for, quote, a long time, according to Jets head coach Rick Bowness. He clarified a bit, saying at least a month. Stanley's injury isn't the same as both. So they're both out at least a month, which is a significant loss, obviously, for both of them. More than a month, apparently. At least a month, more than a month, depending on which reporter you're following. So it sounds like both of those guys, the injury bug, which had bit the Jets, with obviously Mason Appleton and Nikolai Ehlers, and then Logan Stanley, and he came back. Now Stanley and Menelainen both out for longer than a month, each of them. So the Jets, the injury bug is certainly biting this team something significant, and really going to be testing the depth on the blue line and among the forward group. And so the Jets, I mean, you look down the roster, we've talked a lot about injuries this year from the Jets' perspective and the perspective of the other teams they've been playing against. And it's not necessarily, Ehlers is the big name still injured of the quote unquote superstars on this Jets team. But these guys are your depth guys. These are guys who've been very key to the Winnipeg Jets' success this year. The depth scoring, the being able to plug and play and get effective time and effective minutes from these guys. So you're going to see, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Kevin Stenlund in the lineup one of these days coming up, possibly even Tuesday against the Vegas Golden Knights, because personally, Sam Gagner has been underwhelming to me as of late. And he was great for the Jets, sort of early in the year. But to me, he's been underwhelming a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see Stenlund come in, another big-bodied player, maybe playing a similar role to what Menelainen has been doing for the Jets so far, in a heavy forecheck role, maybe with Adam Lowry, maybe with Morgan Barron. Obviously, I'm not going to speculate on the lines or anything, but that's the injury update. Significant injuries to both Logan Stanley and Saku Manalainen, both out for a month, which is significant for the Jets, Dave.
Yeah, there's no question about that, Drew. That's if Ezzy was here, I'd be busy updating illegalcurve.com, but I'm going to stay focused right now on the post-game show. I can get to the injury news and update the website after, because people that I care about are in the chat right now and they're already aware of that news. But I also care about the people on illegalcurve.com, of course. So I don't want to malign them. Yeah, really tough. I mean, look, like Logan Stanley is whatever, but the reality is that Saku Manalainen has been a significant addition to this Winnipeg Jets club. He's scored a few goals. He's been excellent on the penalty kill. He's been a nice, addition to this lineup. And so we knew when we saw the injury in St. Louis that it didn't look good, just based on the way he grabbed his shoulder and went to the room. And it didn't, again, like I said, we're not doctors and we don't play that role here on this show, but it just didn't look good. I did find it curious that the team didn't make a recall earlier, because I thought the Moose were playing last night, and so you're gonna let all of those guys play, and then again travel. It's presumed the Moose, of course, traveled from Abbotsford to Calgary today, but you never know, right? I mean, it could always be a travel situation, so you've got to be aware of that. And so from a Jets perspective, I thought, and especially with the way it is right now, they've got 12 forwards, so you could have recalled actually two guys quite easily to have 14. And then obviously you would have had Kyle Capobianco. And the reason why I said that is because, if they could have been short of a forward ultimately, right? Because it looked like obviously someone wasn't 100% healthy, because they put Stenlund, in warm-up skates. So clearly one of the forwards isn't healthy. So I thought the Jets played with a little bit of fire there in that situation, but really tough news. From an injury perspective, because now you've got Nikolai Ehlers out till sometime in January. Mason Appleton is out till sometime in January. And now you add two more guys out till sometime in January. And again, the defense has been fine without Logan Stanley. They've not had him in the lineup for 6 weeks. So I think his absence is not, really going to be felt significantly by this Jets team, because I think Sandberg is more than capable of filling that role. But the Sacramento Line one, that's the one that, look, Kevin Stenlund he's a big body, and he's played, I think, 71 NHL games. So it's not as if he doesn't have NHL games under his belt. I think he's like 11 goals, 9 assists with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who of course drafted him. He's a buddy of Pierre-Luc Dubois. They have some history, of course, coming up through the organization together. So, I think Stenlund is a guy who's capable. And when I've talked to him, for the Moose, and we've talked to whether it's post game or whatever, he was always aware. He knew. He said the team is the Jets are watching. You want to make sure that you're putting in a good effort. And people ask me, who do I think could have been a recall candidate? And I would have said Stenlund or Alex Limoges, who of course is the Moose leading scorer, or Jeff Malott, who has, I think, the most goals on the Manitoba Moose. So, or Christian Reichel, if they wanted someone in that sort of right shot penalty kill role, potentially. So Stenlund, I think, was a good recall. Obviously, they could have done Tom Nato as well. But right now, it's an emergency recall. Would imagine, of course, that it will change to a regular recall fairly soon. And like I said, this is an interesting situation for the Jets, because you were humming along. But I mean, you can't not anticipate that you're going to suffer injuries. And there's also, we've seen guys jump in, and I should qualify this, and this is an important detail, I think, for folks who are paying attention to, the Moose and guys coming up from the Moose. It is no longer Mikey Esimont, for the record. Michael Esimont. So he is going by Michael Esimont, for the record. So I will no longer be referencing him, although I may or may not have still tweeted Mikey a couple times. But just so people know, it's going to be Michael.
This is
sorry.
Michael. It's going to be Michael, because this is what he's requested, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is what happens. And it's, sometimes, everyone thinks they're pronouncing a guy's name right, and then he has to go sort of quietly and say to the assembled media, no, it's actually this pronunciation, or no, I actually prefer this to be how you reference me. I prefer to be referenced as King Drew of Illegal Curve, but so far that hasn't come to fruition. But fingers crossed that soon will one day be what you guys refer to me as.
Anyways,
but that might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. But that's a separate issue.
King Drew would be an interesting one. But anyways, the point is that look, there's going to be guys who are going to look. The ultimate point I was trying to make there was just that there's that idea of opportunity, and guys need to take advantage of it. And we've seen Morgan Barron step in and play. He had a decent game. Jansen Harkins was creating and trying to do some things tonight. So there's guys who are hungry for that opportunity. Alex Limoges, a guy who, like I said, played in the San Diego organization, which is obviously the Anaheim Ducks organization, got some games in with the Ducks. That he's looking. He's the Moose leading scorer right now. He had a nice game-winning goal. I don't want to submarine my Manitoba Moose minute, but Alex Limoges, he's been performing for the Moose, so he's a guy who I think you could give a chance to. And Jeff Malott is another guy who is something the Jets could use. He's a big body. I think he's 6'4", but he's in front of the net. He scores in the dirty area, and he's not afraid to be in front and take some pain and give it up. So to me, Jeff Malott is another guy who maybe you want to give a little bit of an extended look, because that to me ultimately is, we've talked about this for years and years and years and years on the show, is that so many times when people are like, oh, this guy came up from the AHL and he was terrible and he didn't deserve to stay. But again, these guys play with, there's a lot of fear, fear of making a mistake. I'm only going to play one game and then I'm going back. Well, now these guys know, well, I'm not going to play just one game. I got some runway, to use that expression. And so there's a little bit of runway here with the Jets, with the 4 players we've already mentioned, 3 of whom obviously are forwards. So there's some runway for guys who come up from the Manitoba Moose who are going to know, hey, I could get some games under my belt. Now, again, there's going to be a challenge that you could be, mixed and matched very easily. So, if you're not performing, you're not going to stay there. But I just think they're going to know that, hey, if I perform, I'm going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row here in order to, prove that I can earn the spot. And so that to me is, I think it's great. I think it's a great carrot to dangle in front of players and say, here's your chance. And it's great for players to say, okay, I'm going to do what I can do and show them that, hey, it's not just at the American Hockey League level that I can produce, but I can also do it at the NHL level.
You're right about that. Let's get into the actual goals, as we've talked about the first period, which was 0-0. The Capitals opened the scoring at the 3:25 mark of the first period. It's Trevor Van Riemsdyk, his second of the year assist to Nick Dowd and Protas, Alexei Protas, his third assist on the year. It makes it 1-0. This is just a blown coverage by the Jets. 2 guys go to Dowd, and I believe it was Sam Gagner and Nate Schmidt, if I'm not mistaken, and they just leave Van Riemsdyk to walk in from the point as Dowd slips the pass to Van Riemsdyk, and he walks in and he snipes it from sort of the top of the circles, or give or take a couple feet. Great shot, but just a blown coverage by the Winnipeg Jets on this play. Schmidt was in a good position on Dowd, and I don't know why Gagner sort of left what his responsibility to cover Van Riemsdyk was here, and it cost the Jets, obviously, giving the Capitals a 1-0 lead.
Well, how, Drew, just think about it. What was that goal we saw where 2 guys went after Michael Essimont and Kyle Connor burnt them? Yeah. And it's the exact same situation, right? So, 2 Jets descend on Dowd, and he makes a heck of a nice pass to Van Riemsdyk, and you got to give Van Riemsdyk credit. Hellebuyck has no chance. There's about 17 guys in front of him. And so he puts it up. I think from my perspective, it looked like he went top corner. Yeah, but the reality was, it was, Hellebuyck had no chance. I don't know. You couldn't see through that screen. There were way too many guys. Again, a failure of his team to clear the front of the net so he could see that shot. And it was a defensive breakdown. And it makes the Jet, it was a beautiful passing play by Washington, and the Jets paid the price, because now they're finding themselves down 1-0.
You talked about that Michael Essimont play where he chipped it up to Kyle Connor. Same idea. Yeah. Dowd is not a risk there. He's not a threat. He's right. Way up on the boards. His back is almost to the Jets' goal there. There's no reason for 2 guys to go there. He's not a threat, right. Even in a one-on-one situation there. There's nothing no good can come from pressuring him there, because it just leaves the guy open. And I suppose maybe you pressure him and you try and force a turnover, but you're not forcing a turnover that's going to lead to anything immediate there. So a blown coverage. It was Sam Gagner who left Van Riemsdyk, and ends up costing the Jets to make it 1-0. Then the Jets run into some penalty troubles, and they almost get out of it. But close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And they were close but no cigar. 5-on-3 situation for about the 5-on-3 was for just 57 seconds. Yeah. And with about 20 seconds left in the second penalty, this was the one that Gustafsson was serving for tripping. Kuznetsov makes it 2-0 on the power play, a backhand goal, assist to John Carlson and Connor Sheary, and it's 2-0 for the Capitals at this point in time. And it's been a bad second period for the Jets, and it's still going to get worse before it gets better.
You know what's never a good thing when you're not one of your top penalty killers is in the penalty box. That's never a good thing. And look, David Gustafsson doesn't take a lot of penalties, so it is what it is. But as soon as you see David Gustafsson, well, you're already killing a Blake Wheeler penalty. You know, heading to the penalty box and knowing it's going to be a 5-on-3. I thought the Jets did an admirable job on the 5-on-3 and were able to kill it off, obviously, to the Wheeler penalty. Yeah. And then up until, like you said, Drew, 21 seconds, I think it was, left in the Gustafsson minor, they were able to, score. And look, give Kuznetsov credit. I mean, that's a beautiful goal. I mean, he really
player.
Yeah, he and Hellebuyck, there's some options. He's kind of caught in between, and Kuznetsov puts it up and over him. So real nice goal by Kuznetsov. And yeah, the Jets find themselves down, but not really out. I mean, it's a 2-0 game, and the Jets have the firepower to really get, like, they're not playing great, right? That's the second period in a row now where they've fallen asleep for the first 10 minutes of it. So but the way again, this isn't the same team that we've seen traditionally where if they start to get out of it, it's like, okay, well, this one's over. This is, like I said, this is like a team from a few years back when the Jets are never really out of a hockey game.
Well, and opportunities certainly came their way here because after the Caps make it 2-0, Lars Eller, you talked about him, his 900th career NHL game tonight. He takes a double minor for high sticking. So this happens, 56 seconds, or pardon me, 50. Do some quick math. 56 seconds after the Caps make it 2-0. Lars Eller takes this double minor. So the Jets figure, hey, we have a 4-minute power play. Our power play has been exceedingly good as of late. It's almost been good for 1 goal a game. Let's see if we can cut that lead in half. We haven't had a great second period. We haven't had a great game to this point. But if we're only trailing by 1, well, then, it's anybody's game at that point in time. Instead, the opposite happens. Marcus Johansson gets sent in on a breakaway. I believe it's Josh Morrissey takes a slashing penalty. They don't penalize Morrissey into the box. They penalize it with a penalty shot, a shorthanded penalty shot for Marcus Johansson, who makes no mistake. Beautiful goal. His 7th of the year. This comes at 9:55 of the second period, and it's 3-0 at that point in time. And 3-0. I mean, the shorthanded, the power play opportunity the Jets had went for naught, and went not even for naught. It went for the opposite direction. It went to the favor of the Capitals, and the Jets are really in trouble, down 3-0 at basically the 30-minute mark of the game.
And I believe it was Kuznetsov, I could be wrong, who made that kind of diving leap.
Exactly who it was. It was Kuznetsov who poked it forward.
Leap. Yeah, so he made the diving leap at the Jets' blue line in order to poke that puck ahead. And folks didn't like that it was a penalty shot call, but I mean, Josh Morrissey definitely got his stick in around the hands and prevented him from getting a shot away. So the refs saw it the way they saw it, and they had a pretty clear view of that. And it was, the unusual part about it, and again, it's not something they would have shown on TV, but because I'm in the press box, I was able to see it. But what was very unusual was Alex Ovechkin had his arm up the entire time. Like, it was just really weird. It was like he knew he was sitting on the bench at the end, and he had his hand up the entire time, like as if he knew that he was going to be like slapping him high five. I mean, I guess it's his way of showing him confidence. But I mean, look, Connor Hellebuyck. Look, Connor Hellebuyck is one of the best goaltenders in the NHL.
Yeah,
there's no question. Nobody's arguing that. No, we're not going to have a discussion about that because there's no need. But Connor Hellebuyck isn't great in the shootout. I mean, we've talked about that. I don't know what his exact shootout numbers are, but he's not great on shootouts. At least my personal opinion is that he's not great on shootouts. Maybe his numbers would suggest otherwise, but just seems like he doesn't have great success when it comes to the shootout. And a penalty shot is whatever. I mean, he came in with speed, and it was a nice play by them to give him a 3-0 lead. But it's just such an unfortunate situation in that part of the game. Dylan DeMello gets that the high stick, which draws the blood, and you really have a chance on a double minor with the fact that your power play had been clicking. And you got to give Lindgren. You also have to give Lindgren credit. I mean,
he made all the big saves,
but he was also like, he matched Connor Hellebuyck. I thought he was excellent in net, and he was making a number of excellent saves in the first 2 periods. And even in the third period, he made a number of nice saves. So you got to give him credit as well. It's not just that the Jets weren't able to score. I mean, like, they, like we always talk about, their goaltender gets paid too, and their goaltender sometimes is able to, stymie the opposition. And that's what I thought he was able to do quite successfully. And you could argue the Jets didn't type of, requisite shots that they needed to, and the dirty, the greasy ones that sometimes this team kind of passes off in terms of trying to get something like, again, even in the first period, there were a couple of instances where I don't remember who made the pass to Jansen Harkins. But it was just like it was like a too hot. It might have been Morgan Barron, and there was a bit of a too hot to handle where if he taps it in, it cuts the lead down. I think it might have been, or maybe it was in second. It might have been 2-1. So look, there were a number of instances where the Jets could have been within, and they didn't take advantage, and they found themselves down. And so when you're down 2-0, we've talked about it. This Jets team is more than capable of coming back. 3-0 is a little bit more of a, again, I didn't think 3-0 would be insurmountable, but it's a little bit more of a, we're not seeing it. And again, you've had 2 bad starts to periods, which is very difficult in terms of, creating something when you're finding yourself down by 3 goals. So, if the Jets were going to do something, they were going to have to quickly try and flip the script, which, as you're about to get into, Drew, they were unable to do.
No, the script wasn't ready to be flipped yet. The Caps make it 4-0 at the 15:24 mark. Lars Eller, his 6th of the year, assist to Anthony Mantha and Dmitry Orlov, who was sort of a surprise participant for the Capitals in today's game. I don't think that, based on our conversation yesterday with Samantha Pell, that we expected Dmitry Orlov to be on the blue line for the Capitals tonight. I think most people thought he'd get another game or another day of practice, but he plays for the Capitals. He gets 2 assists tonight. He also gets an assist on the empty netter, but Lars Eller makes it 4-0, and it's basically all that's said and done at that point in time. It's unlikely you're going to come back from 4 goals down where the Jets were after 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, when I think my tweet was, and there go the pretzels.
Yes, you do love the pretzel one.
I do.
They call him Whitey Whackers. Hall of Famer Whitey Ford out to plead for some sanity.
And there go the pretzels. No, once they made it 4-0, it seemed, and again, like I said, with Lindgren playing the way he had been, it seemed very unlikely the Jets were going to be able to come back in this one, given the fact that they hadn't really shown up for the first 10 minutes of the first 2 periods. So once that 4th goal went in, you kind of said, okay, well, this one is, and maybe you try and, we always talk about how, you're not going to necessarily come back and score 4 goals in one shift, but slowly build something so you can at least say, well, we salvaged the 3rd period, and we were able to build on that into the next game on Tuesday. And, clearly you want to come back and you want to tie it. And the reality, truthfully, was you get and again, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but if you get an early goal, which they obviously did, and you get a subsequent goal, suddenly now, you don't need to score too quickly. You could just get that 3rd one, and now suddenly Washington's really tight.
I thought Peter Laviolette called a very smart timeout after 100%. The Jets made it 4-2. So let's get into the 3rd period. So it's 4-0 after 40 minutes. And then we'll talk about the timeout. Adam Lowry, just what the Jets needed, opens the scoring at the 35-second mark of the 3rd period. His 7th of the year assist to Josh Morrissey, of course, and Morgan Barron. And the Jets, that's exactly what they needed, to get a little bit of fight and a little bit of life and get a little bit of hope to their game for that 3rd period. They make it 4-1 at that point in time, Dave.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. And it's exactly how you want to come. Like the previous 2 periods, you didn't come out aggressively. You were back on your heels, and you didn't get necessarily burnt because Hellebuck was able to stop the shots, but you just didn't have control of the puck. And so what ends up happening in the 3rd period is that you get that early goal, and they had some chances. Don't get me wrong. Like even in the 1st period, I think the Jets had an early chance. So, or maybe it was the 2nd, but ultimately, if you don't score, it the momentum that you could potentially build isn't there. And instead you score, you get the crowd into it because it's early enough that people are like, okay, 4-1. Maybe it's kind of possible versus, if you score that goal with 10 minutes to go in the game, well, who cares?
It's just window dressing at that point.
All you're doing at that point is breaking Lindgren's shutout at that point. You're not doing anything that's going to really get people, excited and galvanized. But now suddenly 4-1 early in the 3rd, a little bit of a different story.
Make it 4-2, just over at the 3:29 mark of the 3rd period. Dubois, his 14th, mini stick style. If you look at the replay on how he actually choked up on that on that great pass from Kyle Connor, Michael Asimont gets the assist on it as well to make it 4-2. And then you're beginning to think a little bit. And it's a great play by Dubois here, and it's a great pass from Kyle Connor. But what I think really was a smart decision at this point was Peter Laviolette using his timeout and just calming the waters, because it seems like the use of that timeout sort of just made the game sort of recalibrate. Okay, he said to his team, I'm assuming or paraphrasing, 4-2, we're in a good position. Let's not lose our minds. Let's just keep playing the game we've played up to this point in time, the game we played through the first 40 minutes, and we'll be fine. It's if they start to get into a track meet, or if they start to lose their structure that they used so well in the first two periods, that would maybe get the Jets, even more hope to get back into the game. But everyone sort of took a deep breath. The Jets, they had some momentum and they still had some chances. But to your point, Charlie Lindgren, who I think still goes by Charlie. I don't think he's yet Charles or Chuck, but I'm not sure. Charlie Lindgren made some saves when he had to. And then the Capitals were just sort of, the clock was not the Jets' friend. And I thought the timeout sort of just slowed everything down again.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And we see it, right? Oftentimes we wonder why coaches hold these timeouts in abeyance and don't actually use them because they don't carry over to the next game.
Right.
And that absolutely changed the momentum of the game. I should say of the game, but of that period, because it was all Jets. The crowd was into it because they're getting excited. And now suddenly what happened? Washington was able to start to push back, and they didn't score, of course, but what happened was they really arrested the Jets' momentum and really prevented them from building something. Because if the Jets score shortly after the Pierre-Luc Dubois goal, and I agree that kind of a neat goal with the choked up mini stick sort of effect, but if they score on that one right shortly after that one, or even within 5 minutes of that one, it's a totally different game. And now all the pressure. And the one thing we didn't mention, Drew, and one thing I can't ever recall ever seeing, because you often want a coach to do this, but it almost never happens. And I know in today's NHL, coaches are willing to try things that they weren't traditionally before. But I thought Rick Bowness pulling Connor Hellebuck with 10.4 seconds to go in the second period, down 4-0. You have nothing to lose. Yeah. And although, with Alex Ovechkin's propensity for empty net goals of late, he's most likely to get a snipe one. But I thought that was a really interesting decision because, it's one thing if you do it. We often say, okay, do it with like when you have 1 second left on the clock, 2 seconds, get an extra body, create a little extra chaos in front of the net, and then maybe something happens. 10.4 seconds is a long time if you get possession for you to fire it at the empty net and really obviously, put this game away. But I just thought I wanted to remind, go back to that moment in the game because, it's unusual. It's not something we're used to seeing. And I liked that Rick Bowness was willing to kind of take a risk and try something a little bit outside the box to try and get his team going, late in the second. Because look, if he scores that 4-1 goal, late in the second, and then if they're able to get a goal early in the third, I'm not saying it translates, but it's a different look. So
the reward is worth the risk in that instance.
Absolutely. Again, if you lose 4-0 or you lose 5-0, who cares, right? Like it's not going to be like a big difference. But anyways, I just thought it was interesting. It's not something we traditionally see very often. So, and then going back to the timeout. Look, it definitely, like I said, it stopped the Jets' momentum, and it really was giving Washington the ability to get back. And we saw what happened, right? They pushed back in that period as a result and started to get some chances on Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, and then the Capitals end the scoring. They get into the empty net after Bowness pulled Hellebuck again with about, he pulled him with about 2.5-3 minutes to go in the game again. You're down 2. It's worth the risk at this point in time. It's like hitting on 16 against when the dealer's got a 10 showing. It's worth the risk. And the war criminal sympathizer Alex Ovechkin gets his 17th of the season assist, as I mentioned, to Dmitry Orlov, and 5-2 is the final score in tonight's contest. Full marks to the Washington Capitals for their victory. They were the better of the two teams. With the Jets' winning streak comes to an end, the Caps' winning streak improves to 4 games in length now. The Jets, of course, next in action on Tuesday against the Vegas Golden Knights, a Golden Knights team that I believe is playing against the Boston Bruins right now and are losing on home ice, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be certainly, that's a pretty heavyweight tilt between the Bruins and the Golden Knights. Yeah, the Bruins up 3-1 with less than 6 minutes to go in the third period.
By the way, Drew, Brent is confirming my my theory about Connor Hellebuck. 32nd in active goalies for shootout save percentage at .670. So at least I'm accurate. I appreciate that Brent was not necessarily trying to keep me honest, giving us some information, but I'm glad that the eye test matches what the numbers actually suggest. So yeah, Connor Hellebuck, not a shootout goaltender. Maybe Big Save Dave should be put into the net for shootout situations.
The Jets have had one shootout so far this year, if I'm not mistaken. If that, I can't really remember. I'd have to look back. And
I don't think so. Have they?
Maybe not. Maybe they just lost the game, and they just lost in overtime once. Is that
they lost the Eichel. They lost the game to
That's
Eichel
right, the Vegas game.
Yeah, no, they haven't had a shootout.
They haven't had a shootout yet. Exactly right. But anyways, 5-2 Washington wins tonight over the Winnipeg Jets. Jets next in action on Tuesday night against the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yep.
We'll have post game here right around 9:45 or so on Tuesday night, as the Jets and the Golden Knights will do battle for top spot, or the two top teams in the Western Conference will do battle at the very least. When we come back, the unique code word, we announce the winner of the latest Illegal Curve merchandise contest.
Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned to that. You're going to want to find out who that winner is. It's definitely an eyebrow-raising winner.
Well, we know the person is in the chat. That's all I'm going to say. I see the
right.
person is in the chat, so I'm very excited to announce that winner.
There you go. Something that we can talk about up next. You're watching the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on a Sunday evening. We're live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time. Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. 9:30 Sunday evening. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Going to give out some prizes, going to give out some award winners, going to give out some merchandise and some unique words. But first, some post-game quotes from various people involved with the Winnipeg Jets. We start with Rick Bowness on tonight's issues. This courtesy of our friend Murat Atesh of The Athletic. Quote, clearly the coverage on their first goal was a complete breakdown for us. Certainly was. We talked about that on the post-game show. Power play hurt us. You got a 4-minute power play and give up the breakaway and the penalty shot. It kind of sets you on your heels a little bit against a veteran hockey club. Some positive from Rick Bowness's perspective. I liked how we finished the second period. The last 4 minutes, we felt we were still in the game, and we were. We made it 4-2, and we just didn't get that third goal. We started trading chances, but that's the only way you're going to get back in the game. That courtesy, Dave M., of the Winnipeg Jets head coach, talking about tonight's game. Let me read this from Pierre-Luc Dubois, then I'll let you comment on the whole plethora of post-game comments. Pierre-Luc Dubois on what Washington did well tonight. Their breakouts. They stretch out so our D can't really gap up. It makes it hard. There's a big gap between our forwards forechecking and our D with their forwards at the red line. The Jets were too slow to close that gap tonight. I think that's what Murat was adding as commentary as opposed to part of the quote. Pierre-Luc Dubois on Winnipeg's struggles versus teams that trap. If you can figure it out, if you can figure out the trap, you can get chances and opportunities. If you don't, it's hard to establish a forecheck, and we had a tough time tonight, whether it was the placement of our dumps, our dump ins, or getting that speed to forecheck. That courtesy of Pierre-Luc Dubois via Murat Atesh of The Athletic. So some interesting comments from both Rick Bowness and Pierre-Luc Dubois, Dave, regarding the Jets' performance tonight.
Yeah, Pierre-Luc, by the way, Rick Bowness says, I used the reference already, loves the back on our heels. He loves to, that's his big quote. Well, that and we'll see. He likes to use we'll see as well. But look, I mean, I think he knows that it wasn't as if the Jets had a terrible hockey game, right? I mean, if you look at the numbers, the Jets weren't, it wasn't as if they were dominated for 60 minutes. They didn't play well. They didn't play well in the first 10 of the first period. They didn't play well in the first 10 of the second period. And hockey's a 60-minute game, and you have to be ready to go. So I'm not giving them an excuse. I mean, it is inexcusable to be outshot 8-1 in the first 10 minutes of a game and then 10-1 in the first 10 minutes of the second period. There's no excuse for that. They needed to be ready to go. I just think that they were able to, even things out. And if you look at the stats, they would bear that out. And I just think, but Pierre-Luc Dubois is right. I mean, that's what the Jets need to do. They need to be able to overcome this. And I think it's that in-game adjustment that we've been able to see them do sometimes throughout the course of this season. And clearly it created frustration in the Jets today, but this is what I think they're going to need to do. I think they're going to, and again, we're not sitting here to say, well, we're going to pump the Jets tires after they lost 5-2. But you're also not going to kill the Jets after the fact that, they'd won 4 games in a row. I mean, remember, guys, it's not something did the Jets win 4 games in a row? The Jets win 3 games in a row last year. Right?
Maybe once.
Right. So 4 games in a row is like a major milestone for this Jets club. And so I just think you're in a good headspace. And again, you don't excuse you need to have a better effort against Las Vegas. I just think that this is one of those games that you're like, okay, it's against an Eastern team, doesn't really have a huge significance. Again, not ideal, but not as if you're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Dave. And to your point about not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, this comment will be our Tough Duck hardest hitting comments for tonight's game, courtesy of Peg City Hockey. If we go 4 wins for every loss, I'd be fine with that. Sometimes they just need to be short and sweet, folks. So there's the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Keep things in perspective. Yes, it's a loss for the Jets, but ultimately, if you go 4-1 in every 5-game stretch from here on out, well, last time I checked, that's an 800 winning percentage, and that's going to put you in a very good spot. So congratulations to Peg City Hockey. Send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs at ICDrew. Send us your name, send us your mailing address, and we'll make sure that the friends of ours at Tough Duck will send out a toque to you. Congratulations on winning tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. We do it again on Tuesday night after the Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights, of course.
Drew, a lot of love for Tough Duck. Flying Dukes, I think, was talking about, and then I think someone else mentioned the getting wearing their Tough Duck and stuff like that. So Tough Duck is getting a lot of love from the Illegal Curve community, and we're happy to hear that. So keep getting in these great comments. I don't ever get a chance to pick the Tough Duck winner, but that's okay. I'm happy with my role picking the winner of the authentic Jets merch, and obviously other things I get to pick.
Well, let's get into the merchandise contest, and we'll wrap it all up later in a couple minutes. We'll wrap it all up with a Manuk Moose minute after the Moose game last night in Abbotsford. A brief Manuk Moose minute. The unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest. I haven't seen anybody guess it yet, folks. Come on, you got to do your research. You got to find out. It's usually about the team that the Jets are playing against. The opposition. It has something to do with their home city. Again, if you haven't yet figured out how to enter the contest, on the YouTube page, go to the show description, hit the drop down arrow, you'll see the link to the contest. Just click the link. There's a whole bunch of things you can do to gain entries, and the more of those things that you do, the more entries you get, and then it resets at the end of every month. So you still got 20 days left in the month of December, and I'm pretty sure the Jets play about 25 games in the next 20 days. So you got lots of time to still lots of opportunities to still try and win. So be sure to enter the contest in the drop down arrow on the show description. If you can't find it there, it's all over our website. Click on basically any article on illegalcurve.com, and you'll find the link to the entry there. Go ahead, Dave. What you said, wow, I stop everything. Breaking news.
I'm not breaking, but I'm going to give one person credit. One person guessed the correct, the unique code word. So I don't know if it was Alan. I don't know if it was Frosty. I don't know if it was Kenny. I'm not certain who it was. But one of you intrepid folks had enough Washington. I did give you a clue about Washington, something connected to Washington, which, Drew just did as well. He reiterated that point. But the fact of the matter is, someone did get it. I did just check, and one person did win.
Can I put it on the screen?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Alrighty. The unique code word for tonight, cherry blossoms. Cherry blossoms, they bloom in the spring in Washington. It's one of the things that the U.S. capital city is known for, that and unfortunate insurrections. But cherry blossoms. Who was it?
It was Frosty. Way to go, Frosty.
I guessed it.
Well done.
There he goes.
Yeah, what? Actually, I should have realized, because Frosty said earlier in the chat, I saw Frosty send a flower my way, and I wasn't really paying. I was paying attention, but I didn't catch it until just now. Way to go, Frosty. A little bit well done, Frosty Winnipeg.
Cherry blossoms is the unique code for the Illegal Curve contest tonight.
By the way, just so people understand, Drew, I want to make sure it's clear. It doesn't matter that Frosty Winnipeg guessed the secret code word first. He gets the same amount of entries as everyone else. This is just fun. Alan likes to get in on this. Everybody likes to guess and hope that they can, you
get absolutely nothing else for it.
Remember the show Stump the Schwab? This is kind of like that. This is that you're just trying to get in a guess to see if you can think like Dave M, but it has absolutely nothing to do with, and by the way, that's a very scary place to be. But if you can, not as bad as Ginsburg, but not, it's a little twisted. So the reality is, if you can guess it, it's great, but you get the same amount of entries as everybody else who now will enter cherry blossoms into the unique code word, and you're going to get just as many points as everybody else.
Exactly right. So congratulations to anybody who enters the unique code word of cherry blossoms, all one word. Put it into the contest page. You'll get bonus entries for the next opportunity, which will come on Tuesday night, to get your name selected for the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Speaking of which, the winner of the most recent Illegal Curve merchandise contest, and I think I can only say, may God have mercy on all of our souls.
I'm very excited. No. First of all, I want to announce it.
Okay, you can announce it. Yes.
Second of all, I am very excited to meet this person. I'm very excited to meet all of you. Let's put that into perspective. I mean, I've got to go visit Spencer Sutton, Frosty. I got actually a lot of people I have to go visit who have to get some Jets merch from Illegal Curve Hockey. Tracy, she's in the chat. I gave hers on Friday. But this person, always in the chat, always having a good time. Drum roll, please. Brrr, Drew, the person with the winner is Kenny's water bottle. So Kenny's water bottle. Well done. Congratulations. Drew was actually on. We realized as we were getting ready to go for the post-game show that I hadn't selected the winner yet. So while Drew was there, I pressed the button, and sure enough, Drew can attest. The exclamation of "Whoa!" Winner is Kenny's water bottle. That should get a good reaction from me, and it got a good reaction from Drew. And we were excited to hear what Kenny's reaction. It sounds like Kenny's a little bit verklempt right now with his reaction, but Kenny's water bottle is the winner of the illegal curve contest. So congratulations, Kenny, and I'll be in touch, and then I will get a chance to meet you.
And you have to take a picture of him. You know that Kenny. The rule.
No. I don't destroy people's anonymity. I'm very.
You have to at least share it with me. You have to share the. You have to. I have to
please.
See what this guy looks like.
No,
I assume it's a guy. Maybe it's just
a
water bottle.
I was going to say, don't make an assumption. The only thing I'm going to do if I actually meet Kenny's water bottle, and I pray this happens, I really hope that he or she has a water bottle with a picture of Kenny on it that I can actually take a picture of with the jersey, like in the jersey, and I'll tweet that one out. So Kenny, just so you know, that's a little idea for our meeting, which I hope will take place sometime this week. Of course, Tuesday, Thursday, Jets games might be a little bit tough, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll try and get my deliveries in.
Basically, what Dave's saying is he's coming for Christmas dinner with the family. Kenny's water bottle. He's going to be there at the Christmas table. He'll forego the Chinese food in the movie, as our people tend to do on Christmas Day. Instead, he's going to be spending it with Kenny's water bottle and Kenny's family, which I assume includes a thermos, a Yeti, and maybe one of those. What are those fancy water bottles called? The ones that are like $50 for I forgot what they're called. Those fancy water bottles.
Drew, I drive for the North End. I don't know anything about your $50 water bottles. Come on.
I don't have one. Obviously, I don't know it.
Don't you watch the Grid Park commercial? I should know. I do not have.
That's true. I'm made of money. You're not made of money. You're driving
North
around.
Ender.
Yeah, exactly right. Anyways, thank you, folks. Congratulations to Kenny's water bottle and everything else. Hydro flask. It's something very close to a hydro flask.
Bailey is rolling in it, obviously, with the hydro flask.
All you people apparently have way more disposable water bottle income than I do. That's true. Okay. Maybe it sounds like a potential sponsorship opportunity. We've got a water bottle company on board. Alrighty, let's do it, Dave. You know you've been waiting for it, everybody. We'll wrap it up with one final thing tonight. It is time for the
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manitoba Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
No, Drew, I don't want to say there's a correspondence to my not watching the Moose game on Friday and them getting pumped 7-0, and then my watching the Moose game on Saturday and them having the opposite type of game. But clearly there was some sort of common denominator because the Moose didn't have the same sort of game as they had against Abbotsford the night before. Ville Heinola missed his second straight game. He's out with an illness. But they had the same lineup. Arvid Holm, of course, he went in net after Scary Salmon and given up a number of goals, obviously, the night before. So the Moose were largely intact with the same lineup. Alternate captain, Cole Meyer still dealing with what he's dealing with in a yellow non-contact. I didn't see Chaz Lucius. We don't know what his situation is. Obviously, with the Americans getting started, I think tomorrow with their World Junior Camp, Chaz Lucius was on their roster list. But I mean, again, when I talked to Mark Morrison last week, he said that the head coach, obviously the Moose, he had indicated that he was weeks away. Possible that he's ready to go. We'll see. We'll find that out. The Moose are actually off to Calgary, so we won't be talking to them. I can find out though from the Moose people, see if we can get an update from them. But the Moose got things started off with the 2019 second rounder Simon Lundmark scoring his first goal of the season, big goal to make it 1-0 for the Moose. Abbotsford was able to tie the game. The Moose PK again coming through for the AHL club of Winnipeg. And, the Abbotsford Canucks still have a pretty good power play. But Alex Limoges, it was a real nice kind of individual effort by him. And he ends up scoring what turned out to be the game-winning goal for the Manitoba Moose. I've got both those in note 3 today if you want to check those out on the website. In the morning papers, but Alex Limoges, he's the team leader in scoring, and he scored a nice goal to make it 2-1. And it was a pretty good game, actually. Like I said, there was back and forth third period, but ultimately the Moose hung on for the win. And, the remarkable stat, the one thing that I pointed out after the game that I think is very interesting for this Moose club is the fact that they have now managed to successfully follow up they haven't started off these 2-game series very well. They've lost 6 of them, but they followed every single one. Sorry, 7 of them now, but they followed every single one up with a win. So kudos to the Moose for able to showing that they can rebound. I mean, this is, and I'm not one for making excuses, but it is a very young Moose club. I think Daniel Fink once said they were the 3rd youngest team in the AHL, but they've shown that they can, bounce back in these types of games. And, this is not the same Moose club as we've seen from the year before that. They had some losses. Obviously, guys have graduated up to the NHL, or you've lost a guy like Johnny Kovacevic who didn't get through to them on waivers. And as a result, they've had to adjust the way things have gone. Some of the other teams, Milwaukee has been playing very well. So, right now they're still trying to kind of find their way winning percentage wise, because, obviously in the AHL where teams play, the Pacific Coast teams play not as many games as the teams in the other divisions. So it goes by winning percentage. The Moose are 11-6-2-1, still a pretty good record. And they're going to be heading to Calgary to take on the Wranglers, obviously without Kevin Stenlund. And we don't know, I would imagine Villahinola will probably be ready to go for the next round, but we'll see. And then, like I said, the one good thing is that Declan Chisholm and Leon Gavanke and Simon Lundmark and T. Konopoli, don't worry about Tyrell Bauer. He had a good scrap. I will say he had a pretty good scrap. Who had a good scrap yesterday? Nicholas Jones. Nicholas Jones had a pretty good scrap in yesterday's game. He's from Alberta, and sounds like they had the Nicholas Jones fan club in attendance for him in Abbotsford. So, look, the Moose ended up picking up a 2-1 win. And like I said, they've won a lot more games than they've lost, and they'll head to Calgary. Calgary's a pretty good team, although they just lost the leading scorer in the AHL up to the Flames. So that's the first ever. I actually misspoke because I was like, they've played the Stockton Heat when they were here, but I realized after, in consultation with Daniel Fink, who gave me the heads up, the Moose actually played Stockton here and when they were Calgary. They played them during that Canadian year here in Winnipeg, but they never actually played in Calgary at the Saddle Dome. So this will officially be the first time on Tuesday night when the Moose ever go to Calgary to play the Calgary Wranglers in Calgary, Alberta.
There you go. Thank you, Dave M. That's an excellent Manuk Moose Minute. Before we wrap up, the question that In Bones We Trust had, what's the most entries you've seen? Do you know a number off the top of your head? Like who's garnered the most entries over in the Illegal Curve merchandise contest over the course of a month?
Well, that's a very good question, Drew. Do you want to know current, or do you want to know like ever?
I think ever is what he was asking. If you have it handy, if you don't, whatever you have handy, I'm sure In Bones We Trust will be glad to give you the. Okay, you look it up, and in the meantime, I'll give a shout out to our sponsors as we wrap up this post game show. Which
Did Frosty Winnipeg give you the thing? Because I'm not looking right now.
No, Frosty Winnipeg hasn't put it up yet, so this is his alert that Frosty Winnipeg should put it up on the screen while I start reading, because that's usually how it works, is I start talking, and then he puts it into the comments, and then we'll throw it up there on the screen. So I want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, that's this show, who make the Saturday show, that happened yesterday, and they make the website a possibility. There it is.
That's every day, by the way, for the record.
That's good, thank you. Rumors Restaurant, pardon me.
Uh-oh.
Now I'm starting to choke again.
Drew, you're verklempt right now. Holy daddy. Drew,
you never know when that frog is going to get in my throat. It just comes out of nowhere.
You need? Drew, you need a hydro flask.
I do need a hydro flask. I've been drinking this pond water I've been finding outside, and it's certainly not doing the trick anymore.
Okay, you finish off. I've got the stats for this month, and there's some big numbers right now. And by the way, one of the high numbers, he is in the chat. In fact, you've got more. Yeah, you've got, actually, he already said what his number is, but we'll get to that in a second. Keep going, Drew.
Big thank you to Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the sponsor of the post-game show, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Dave M., give the people what they want.
So the answer, Drew, is... Should I give names, or should I just give? Maybe I should just give entries. I'm not going to give names.
Entries. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll give the entries. The top entry for this month,
is
192. Now he may have outed himself because I saw his name in the chat. After that, 185. Another guy who's in the chat, I know for actually the next few are in the chat. 178, 178, 178, 177, 175, 170, 168, 165. Now the truth is, now what would be interesting actually, Drew, which I don't have the time to do right now. If we're going to do a forensic audit of the contest.
Yes.
But I'd be very curious to know how it correlates between if the amount of entries you have versus wins, versus the people who win. So I can look that up. Maybe I'll have that information. I mean, hey, I've got nothing better to do. I'll do that for Tuesday's show. I'll try and see if I can.
Off. The Moose aren't playing tomorrow. The Jets aren't playing tomorrow. You got nothing to do. You might as well do a deep dive into the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. So we have Dave Adam has something to do rather than rest or see loved ones or anything like that. The loved ones that really matter are you folks in the chat who can keep going with the contest. And again, we constantly change the things you can do to get entries and add things and take things away. So always be checking the contest page because that's going to be how you continue to rack up the entries between
As
now.
Frosty is pointing out, the highest number can change. You can always change it. So again, tomorrow or tonight, depending on I obviously have a lot of things to do, but I add things. So there'll be a new thing that you can retweet tomorrow that will gain you 5 more entries. So every day, that's the whole point. It's not just like you do it and then you don't have to think about it again. You don't, in theory. If you get one entry in, you can win, but at the same time, you can always gain more just by going to our TikTok and maybe following it. And Bailey, don't worry, we may be taking you up on it because even though Ezzy, badgered me into creating a TikTok, I kind of don't really want to do it because I quite honestly I find it kind of stupid. So I'm going to give it to Bailey. I'll be like, here you go, Bailey. You're in charge of our I'm not guaranteeing it, Bailey. I'm just saying I'm using that as just but we'll have to just have an Illegal Curve internal meeting. But anyways, why do you have to tell people you love everyone?
Well, because I think when I said that, the loved ones, I think is what I said, is the loved ones are in the chat. They're not, not the loved ones that you have in real life, but the loved ones that are in the chat on a regular basis. So people were surprised that I'm saying that I love everyone, but I do love you folks. Even those of you that dislike me, that's okay. I know that it's done with, there's no malice in your heart at the very least in that sense. So please, by all means, yes, I'm in the mood to love on. I don't know, let me rephrase that. I love all of you, and maybe I'm not in the mood to love on all of you. My wife gets upset when I do that. With exactly. Maybe, exactly.
This is a family show. We got Bailey in the chat. Let's keep this nice and above board. Let's keep this G rating. Thank you very much. So, anywho, what I was gonna say though, just to answer Chris's question, it is cherry blossoms. So let's maybe put that word back up. I'll do that myself right now. Cherry blossoms in answer to Chris's question is the word or the unique code for the IC contest. So Chris, just throw that in there and cherry blossoms. And again, that's going to be up tonight, all day tomorrow. I won't change that till Tuesday at some point. I mean, eventually it does change and eventually we get back to the new word. Usually today, for example, as Drew said, I didn't do it till just before the show, but sometimes I will do it, a couple hours before. So just make sure if you're going to get it in. And I know we obviously have people who download the show and listen to the podcast, and we love that. And we appreciate, even if you can't listen to us live, listening to us after the fact. And one quick thing I want to thank people who are jumping on the podcast on the iTunes and leaving comments. I really appreciate that. I've seen more and more of you doing that.
We appreciate it.
Sure. I Drew, this is not a singular entity. We are all one. It's like we're all one form here. But so that when I say
Musketeers, all for
generally
one for all.
When I write I actually get uncomfortable. In fact, even if it's something I'm observing, I write we on our Instagram or on our Twitter, because it is not just mine or yours or Ezzy's, it is ours. So anywho, if you can, we will appreciate, Drew, that you would make those comments on the Illegal Curve iTunes. So if you can do that, because not only are you doing that because I'm asking you, which should be enough. Yes. Right, Drew? That should be enough in theory. Asking. But you get 10 entries. I'm sure Alan's already done this, but you're going to get 10 entries if you go on there and make a comment. So we appreciate that.
The comment.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. We should probably end this show because we're going to be running into another one. Drew, it's a pretty long post-game show.
That's what I'm going to say, Dave. I thought this was going to be a bit of a short one, given you
did say that before. Should we give one final thing that the Winnipeg Ice, they won tonight 6-1 over Regina. I don't know why I got that wrong, because I actually thought you were wrong, because you said it was the last chance to see Bedard, and I was like, well, I don't know what Drew's talking about because they're playing Prince Albert, but maybe they're going to Prince Albert next. So I said in my notes, oops, that they were playing Prince Albert tonight. I got the time. Actually, I got the time wrong, I think, too.
But Connor Bedard wasn't even here. He's in Moncton at World Junior Evaluation Camp. So I know a number of people I know a number of people who bought tickets to tonight's ice game to see Connor Bedard and the ice, of course, because the ice are a dominant force. That were really surprised and a little bit disappointed that Connor Bedard wasn't there. But nonetheless, they saw a quality ice win, so that's always sends people home with a smile. Depending, so if you were down at the University of Manitoba today watching hockey, you're probably happy. If you were at the downtown arena watching the Jets, you're probably a little bit more disappointed, but c'est la vie, as life will go on Tuesday night, the Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights. 9:45 p.m. for post game here.
Do you want to answer this one, Drew?
What's that? What?
In
No,
we'll trust.
Let's save that for Tuesday. We'll save it for Tuesday.
But I will say that's the second time today. Someone asked on Facebook. Someone asked, I think it was Facebook or Instagram or something, and I answered the question. But in Bones, if you want, DM me. I'll send you the 411. But it involves Marty McSorley. Just
there you go. That's it. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back Tuesday night at 9:45. For Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. This has been the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Until Tuesday night, we wish you good night and good luck.